I call the Kitty Hawk Town Council to order this Monday, December 3rd, 2018, at Kitty Hawk Town Hall. It is now 6 p.m. We see a lot of folks out here. Appreciate everybody coming. If you'll join us for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next is approval of agenda. I have amended the agenda to add an item 11A, culvert bid on West Tate Way. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Presentations. First, we have Dare County Commissioner Irvin Bateman, former Kitty Hawk Council member. Irvin, if you'll come up here, I want to give you a plaque, and I want to say a couple things, and let you say a couple things if you want. We're going to give you two things. One's a plaque, okay? And the other is your nameplate, and I don't know what happened to that. It fell out? Okay. Irvin's laying on the floor. What I wanted to say was, I mean, you just ran for a hard campaign. If the world doesn't know who you are, where you've been, and how long you've been here, I don't know. But the way I look at what you've done is you've moved up to commissioner. But you and me and Jeff lived here all our lives. Dare County, before the town became a town, was an extension of us anyway. And you are, by definition, now an extension of us there, doing even better things, just the way you've done them all your life in Dare County, not just Kitty Hawk. And you've done that all your life, and we appreciate that. We're going to miss you here. We're going to miss you here. But we know that what you're doing now is going to help us all, including Kitty Hawk. And I want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I want to thank you guys. I would just tell you that I always looked at this as being a job, because that's what it is. I took and take a lot of pride in it. I remember Jeff's dad, I got on the Kitty Hawk Town Council, basically speaking, and on the planning board and recreation committee. I was down at the end of Porridge Road, and I was fussing about something was going on I didn't like in the town of Kitty Hawk. And Paul Pruitt told me in his Air Force Kitty Hawk lingo to basically be quiet, and if we wanted to change something, to do something about it. And I took that to heart. It kind of pissed me off, but after a while I calmed down. I took that to heart, and that's when I got on the planning board and the recreation committee. And so if anybody in this whole deal has been blessed, it's been me. Because not only have I grown as a person, I've grown emotionally, I've grown intellectually, I've grown spiritually. I've learned that giving back is much, much more important than receiving. And that's what this job to me always meant. I got excited when I came to Kitty Hawk Council meetings. I mean, I must live a really boring life to get excited to come and do a council meeting or a planning board or something. But it was part of being a part of something and making a difference in people's lives that you've grown up around and the newcomers to the Outer Banks. So I'm much better for being here, and I want to thank you for everything you've done for me, your friendship. And once again, I'm psyched for where I'm going, but I'm very appreciative to where I've been. Thank you.
All right. Now, video of a motorcycle toy run presentation to Chief Johnson. Come on up.
He didn't hear you.
Mayor, thank you for letting us come up here. I'm with the Dare County Motorcycle Toy Run. I have one of my members, Christy Koo, with me tonight, who is a Kitty Hawk resident. I want to say congratulations to Irvin. He's one of the first ones that I come to every year that he makes a donation to us, and he helps us do what we do. Give you a little history about the toy run. It was founded in 2016. We're a 501(c)(3), and our first year we raised $14,000, and we helped 400 kids in Dare County, underprivileged kids. Everything that we raise, all the money we make, stays in Dare County. Our second year we raised $25,000, and we helped 573 kids. This year we raised $32,000. We're going to help a lot of kids. We've done really well. We had the Governor's Award of Excellence for volunteerism was awarded to us this year. We took a lot of pride in that. And we've also had the distinct honor, I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, Mr. John Waters, who's a local singer. I talked with Johnny, and he volunteered to give us a theme song this year for our Toy Run video. And if y'all will bear with me, I'm gonna try to get this working. I'll show you our video. We videotape every year the Toy Run. This year we came to Aycock Brown Welcome Center, and we went to the Icarus Monument to a Century of Flight. We celebrated 1903. There were three things that happened in 1903. It was introduction of Ford Motor Company, the Wright brothers, first flight at Kitty Hawk, and then it was also Harley Davidson was introduced. So we celebrated that with our theme for this year. I think you'll enjoy this video. Probably gonna be loud. If I can get it to run.
Keep on riding. I got one more tracks me know I'm not gonna let them catch a midnight rider.
Okay, I don't need to do anything with it. We were pretty fortunate. This is, like I said, the third year we've done this. We had about 160 motorcycles that participated in the ride. We were expecting about 225, but Florence had just come through, and a lot of them in the western part of the state couldn't come out. Still, despite that, we raised quite a bit of money. This year, we've done something new. We've started 3 educational scholarships. We're going to have one for Manny-on the mainland, one for Hatteras Island, and one for the Northern Beaches that's going to be awarded to graduating seniors. Hopefully, that'll help them with their education. The next thing that we've done, we've actually changed our name. We are now the Dare County Motorsports Charity Group. And what we're trying to accomplish is being able to branch out into other events. We partnered with the First Flight Society, and that's going to prove to be a very big benefit to us. We've also partnered with Michael Tillett, who is Outer Banks SS, and Richard Quidley from the Gift Garden in Kill Devil Hills, and they're putting on a classic car custom rod show that's going to be down here this year. There's going to be hot rods everywhere. They've got, I think, probably 400 rooms that they've already rented at various motels in Dare County. Mayor, if I could, I'd like to introduce Michael. He's in the audience.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Tillett. Like Terry was saying, we are putting together OBX Riding Custom Festival with cars, trucks, hot rods, custom rides from all over the country coming here to the Outer Banks the first weekend in May 2019. And we're doing it to help 2 charities, the Children Partnership and Terry's charity with the Toy Run. And we're just trying to branch out. We're helping each other out to get more things going for the kids in Dare County. I just wanted to let you know what was going on. I know you've got a busy meeting, so I won't carry on. But we're getting cars, trucks, and all coming from just about every state in the U.S. and Canada.
You go to Canada too?
Yes, so it's going to be a nice
It's gonna be a
event.
big event.
We'll be letting you know what's going on. I'll be meeting with different time ships to let them know what's happening. I really appreciate y'all letting me get up and tell you a little bit about it, and we'll hold you up.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Now we'll get right down to the meat and potatoes of this. Your police chief. This year, we put a lot on because we not only came across the bypass and went to the ACOG Brown Welcome Center, but we had to turn around and go back across again. Your police department does a fabulous job. They've helped us all 3 years. We've not had a single incident. It's a police escorted ride, and we've not had a single incident, and it's because of the law enforcement of the municipalities that help us do this. I'd like to call up your police chief with your permission.
Certainly.
And I'm gonna tell you the same thing that I tell you every year. He made you guys look good. Chief, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And
We appreciate all you do for the community.
well, thank you very much. They make it possible for us to be safe.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioner.
I think what I heard him say was, you better not mess with Kitty Hawk Police. Anyway, all right. We had the video. Is Coastal Federation here?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was kind of busy. I didn't see you sitting there. All right.
So good evening. I'm Erin Fleckenstein with the Coastal Federation. I was asked to provide just a very brief update on where we are with the Moreshore Road project. This is a project that I know has been on Mayor Perry's mind for at least the last decade, and I'm excited to report where we are with the project. So just as a refresher, the Coastal Federation is a nonprofit environmental organization. We work in all 20 coastal counties of North Carolina. We have an office here on Roanoke Island. And we propose, or we're big proponents of the use of living shorelines, and these are techniques that protect our shorelines from erosion while at the same time create new habitat improve water quality while still having that shoreline stabilization benefit. And along Moore Shore Road, I'm sure you all have seen the shoreline has been eroding away at a pretty rapid rate. And so we've been working with the town, with Department of Transportation, with the local engineering firm, Coastal Survey and Engineering, as well as a few other partners, including the landowners, to come up with a plan for restoring some of the marsh along Moore Shore Road and to slowing down that erosion, hopefully limiting any further erosion and impacts to Moore Shore Road. As you're well aware, Moore Shore Road is a really important throughway for the town, both for emergency purposes as well as the Outer Banks Marathon that you just had here a few weeks ago. So it's a really important community asset. And there's portions of the road that are very, very severely threatened from some erosion. So in 2016, the Coastal Federation secured a small grant from NOAA, from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, that allowed us to move forward with some planning for a living shoreline there along Moore Shore Road and bring forward a plan to you all that you approved in 2017, and you put forward $170,000 to implement the project along Moore Shore Road. We were then able to use that, the leverage from both NOAA and your all's funding contribution, to get Department of Transportation to add some additional funds to the project. They contributed $30,000 to the project. And then also to further get support from the county through their soil and water department. They administer a grant program that allows us to implement these types of projects. So we've sort of brought all of these different funding sources together, brought all of the different landowners together. It hasn't been a simple process. It hasn't been straightforward. It's a little bit like playing chess, sort of figuring out who's going to do what when, and having your strategy together. But we finally received the permits for the project in August of this year. So the permits are in hand to move forward. Then we put together a bid package with Department of Transportation standards. And if you've ever done projects, I'm sure you do a lot of projects with DOT, you know their process can be quite cumbersome, but they were wonderful to work with, and they really stepped out of their box to help us put together some bid documents that met the standards and specifications for them, as well as the goals of the project from shoreline erosion control and marsh reestablishment. Once the bid packages were in hand, we moved forward to receiving bids, and finally we selected a contractor just before Thanksgiving. Hatchell's Concrete has been selected as the contractor for the project moving forward. On Friday, this past Friday, we held a pre-construction meeting. So Hatchell's was out with the CAMA representative to make sure that, as construction moves forward, we're following all of the permit requirements, and construction should be moving forward in the next couple of days. So hopefully, as you guys are driving along Moore Shore Road, you'll start to see some of the activity. Initially, they're going to be clearing a few lots, not clearing, but knocking down some vegetation in order to use it as a staging location for the construction, putting in the erosion control, silt fencing, and that type of thing. And construction should begin this month. So you should start to see some pilings being put in the water and moving forward with that construction. This living shoreline, there's sort of a whole spectrum of living shoreline techniques that are out there. The type of technique that was finally decided on for Moore Shore Road is actually going to be an offshore sill. So it's going to be placed almost 50 feet offshore in the water. It will be a vertical structure, but it won't be like a bulkhead. It might look like a bulkhead to some people, but it will actually have slits in it that allow water to pass through. There will be breaks in the sill that allow water to circulate around and fish passage to move in and out of the structure. And it will not be very tall. It'll only be 6 to 12 inches above the normal water level. So it will act like as a speed bump for waves, but it's not going to be a hard wall that the waves are going to hit and then ricochet off of. So it's actually going to just act like a speed bump to slow down wave energy, allow it to dissipate. And then once it gets warmer next summer, we'll plant some marsh grass behind that structure to reestablish that vegetation and get the marsh back. But we can't do that till it gets a little bit warmer. That's really all I had for you this evening. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. But we're very excited to be at this phase. Like I said, Mayor Perry's been thinking about this for a decade or longer. And we're finally at a point where construction is moving forward. We're very pleased to have been part of this project with you all.
There are 2 points I want to make, and the first, most important point is the homeowners there saw the erosion as well as the state and everybody. It was visible to everybody, and we knew the road needed to be saved. But this pulling together is doing it in a fashion rather than just putting rock down and saving the road and nothing else. This gives us a chance to rebuild the shoreline. It gives the public a place to see whether this will work or not, and then perhaps use it in other places throughout the county. And an important point I didn't know until we went through the bid process was this is the first time NCDOT has attempted something like this or participated in a living shoreline. They always do their bulkheading or whatever like everybody else. So it's kind of an important project to them to see if this is something they should expand into for the future. And I thought maybe that needed to be
Those
said.
are excellent points, thank you, yes.
Do you have any questions? All right.
Thank you. Thank
Get
you.
her done.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
All right. All right. That's the presentations. Next, we have a nomination for vacant seat on town council. And first, I want to state that assuming a candidate is selected, actual seating will occur in January, so family and friends could be present. The reason for that is we had several candidates come forward, and we wanted to make sure everybody had a chance. We don't have a controversial agenda tonight, so I don't see a problem with any kind of a split seat. And I also need to say that Mr. Nick Martini and Charlena Ambrose have withdrawn their names due to other considerations, so we only really have 2 candidates that have come forward. And with that, I'll go into some preamble. A vacancy on the Kitty Hawk Town Council has been created by the 2018 election of Irvin Bateman to the Dare County Board of Commissioners. Irvin has been sworn in to that new position as this council meets. At our last meeting, council decided to advertise for persons interested in serving out the remainder of Irvin Bateman's term that ends December 2019. As of this meeting, we have received 4 interested persons, 2 of whom have removed their name from consideration. The town code does not specify how to fill an unexpired term of office, but in all matters of rules and procedures for a city council, town officers have followed the guidance established by the Institute of Government of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, commonly referred to as the School of Government, or SOG. Central to the question of, does the law require the council to use any particular process to select the person to fill the vacancy? The answer is no. However, a public body may not consider or fill a vacancy among its own membership except in open meeting. That's why we're here tonight. Now, if council majority agrees, I propose we consider filling the vacancy of Irvin Bateman using a motion to nominate a candidate with second required to proceed to discussion, and then vote with the majority needed to confirm the nominee. It should be noted that a council member is not limited to nomination of only those persons whom responded to advertisement and formal application. And as I stated before, if we select somebody tonight, we will seat them in the January meeting. Question to council. Do you concur with the proposed method? Jeff?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Lynn?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all concurred? All right. All right, with that done, the floor is now open for a motion to nominate. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Tina Tice to fill the vacant council seat on the Kitty Hawk Town Council.
All right, does that have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, hearing there are no other nominations,
The floor for nominations are closed. Now we go into discussion. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
All right. Go ahead. You have something?
Well, I would just like to say that this has been a tough decision to make, and we were very lucky to have two people to come forward. And it's been a tough decision, and I hope that everybody still stays interested, and there's an election coming up pretty soon, so that's all I have to add to the discussion.
I agree. And we do appreciate all the candidates that came forward, put their name in the pot. There are some good candidates there. I'm going to vote for Tina. Tina's been in the town most of her life. She's worked here. She's been on the planning board. Oscar Northern, when she left the planning board due to business and other considerations, Oscar Northern said that of all the people that were on the planning board at the time, she came to the meeting the best prepared, asked the best questions, knew the code, and that's important. She already comes to us knowing the code. She doesn't have to learn it. So the attributes are there. And for all those that we probably won't pick tonight, there is a vote next year. So throw your name in the hat. It only costs $5. All right, all in favor of Tina Tice? I'm sorry, you want to say something? I'm sorry, I didn't realize you wouldn't speak.
I agree with Jeff. This was a tough decision. We had 4 good applicants, narrowed down to 2 tonight by the withdrawals. But when we looked at the whole picture, when I looked at the whole picture, we've talked amongst ourselves. We've lost some sleep over this because this is Kitty Hawk's future right here. But when you look at the applicants that we had based on experience, training, and knowledge, it came out to me to be Tina Tice. That's all.
Anything else?
I can't say anything more because both gentlemen completely said it all. It was difficult. And I hope we don't have to do this again.
All right. All right. All in favor of Tina Tice to fill the vacancy of Irvin Bateman, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Tina, welcome on board. We'll seat you next month.
Thank you.
All right.
David and Charlie, thank you too. both of
Thank you.
them,
Thank you.
very much.
Okay. Public comment. Now's the chance for you to get back at us. Anyone? Let the record show no one came forward. Consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Okay. Now we go into planning, and we have a vegetative buffer review.
All right, if you remember a couple months back, we approved the conditional use permit for the Outer Banks Urgent Care at 5112 North Croatan Highway. As part of that approval, it required a vegetative buffer on the western and southern property lines as it abutted residential zones. Per section 42-651 of the zoning ordinance, the buffer details, including the vegetation type and size, are to be reviewed by the planning board and approved by town council. So this is in front of you here tonight. For the specifics of this plan, the applicant has shown the use of Ligustrum japonicum along the western property line and a portion of the southern property boundary. These plants grow to a height of 6 to 12 feet tall, and according to the NC State Extension, they grow to approximately 5 to 6 feet wide. However, according to Jim Gallagher with Grounds Guys, in our coastal environment, they tend to exceed that mark, noting that it would not be uncommon for them to reach a width of 10 feet. It is an evergreen shrub or small tree that grows rapidly, and it is drought and salt spray tolerant, which the buffer and landscaping requirements call for. I'll back up 1 second and say that The requirement was for a type A vegetative buffer, which it entails an opaque vegetative buffer of a minimum width of 10 feet that will reach a height of 6 feet within 3 years. So in addition to the Ligustrum japonicum along the southern boundary, you can see closer to the front of the lot in green here, they're proposing the use of Elaeagnus. It's a evergreen to semi-evergreen planting that grows 8 to 10 feet tall and 8 to 10 feet wide. The plant is also drought, salt spray, and wind tolerant, and it is noted by the NC State Extension as being good for the use of screenings. And it came up during the discussion of the conditional use permit if it was possible to require the buffer to the properties further north that were approved in 2015. We determined that we weren't making any kind of ruling on those properties. You can see on the landscaping plan that the applicant actually showed the Ligustrum japonicum to extend all the way up to the boundary of the 3 properties that were approved a couple of years back. So they're going kind of beyond what's required by the code. And where there's some discrepancy in that specific plant on the width, where the NC State Extension says 5 to 6 feet wide, the kind of local expert says they can reach 10 feet wide in this environment. The code does say that it has to reach the height of 6 feet within 3 years, so it's kind of my interpretation that, we can monitor it, see if it's getting to the width it needs to be, because we have to look at it in 3 years anyways to see if it gets to the right height. The code also states that the buffer shall be maintained to meet the criteria of the ordinance, and that maintenance of the buffers is a continuing condition of the site plan approval. So at that point, if we see that it's not reaching the width that's required by the code, we can address it then, make them get it into compliance. That, I'll turn it over to any questions. The planning board, they unanimously recommended approval of the proposed buffer detail. And I'll also note that while they showed the full landscape plan, the buffer detail review is simply for vegetative buffer between the residential zone. Kind of all the plantings in between the parking islands and all is not what we're reviewing at this point.
Right. And that's on the east side of that, that's all new. That was not anything we had anything to do with.
Right.
So the fact is, they're bending over backwards to make it palatable to everybody that they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Council, anybody got a question? No. All right. Do you have a preference, a vote, a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to grant approval of the proposed buffer detail at 5112 North Croatan Highway.
Does he have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none.
You did a good job pronouncing your names, too.
That's right. I practiced between planning board meetings.
All right. Next, we have call for a public hearing, schedule it. This would be for a proposal that's up in where the old filling station is, off abreast of Woods Road, Kitty Hawk Elementary School, basically. And do I hear a motion on that?
Is this for the fuel thing or for the
8B.
B?
Yeah, the B.
Okay. I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on January 7th, 2019, to consider the proposed text amendments to amend Section 42-250 C2, 42-251 C2, and 42-253 C10 regarding the minimum setbacks from rights of way for gas pumps.
All right. Obviously, they're thinking about putting in some gas pumps, and the bottom line is, if anybody has an interest in coming out, our code requires gas pumps further from the right-of-way than the state does. In order to make this particular site work, we would have to amend our text to accommodate. That's really what this is all about. All in favor of the motion?
We need a second. Have we got a second? I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion?
This would apply to any new gas station being built in town, correct? But existing ones are grandfathered.
In this particular site? I mean, in this particular zone?
Zone, BC2.
Correct, in those three districts.
Right.
The BC
In
1
those
through
three
BC
districts,
3.
that's correct.
Okay.
But we're not deciding it tonight. All we're doing is setting.
Calling for public hearing. I just
Right.
wanted to make sure that it was for the whole town, not just a corner.
Yeah, well, for 3 sites in town, 3 zoning sections. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then the final thing we have, scheduled public hearing, a zoning map amendment. It has to do with planned commercial development in that same area. And I want to, just for benefit of those that might want to attend, we're not reviewing a site plan at this hearing for planned commercial development. Council is only scheduling a public hearing on the zoning map amendment at this point in time. So there are many more details that they would have to go through before it would get to a point where they could build or do something more. And I just wanted to make that statement. So if anybody's planning to come, this is kind of the sketch idea more than anything else. All right. Do I hear a motion on that?
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing regarding the proposed zoning map amendments at 6100 North Croatan Highway and the adjacent unaddressed lot for the town council meeting on January 7th, 2019.
All right.
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Okay. Next, we would have reports from the town manager. Town manager has a virus. I told him to go home. I didn't want to sit beside him and catch whatever it is he's got. So he has no comment. Town attorney.
Thank you for sending him home, since I said at Jason as well. Nothing from me, Mayor.
All right. All right. Town council. Jeff, you want to start us?
Yeah, I will. Well, I'd like to thank Terry Gray and the Toy Run. That's great what they're doing for the area, and I'm really looking forward to also see what's going to happen in the Living Shoreline. That's going to be a really interested and a great project to watch as it progresses along, and the road certainly does need it. Irvin's not here, but I'd like just to let it be known, it was a pleasure serving with Irvin. I started out with Irvin on the Recreation Committee years ago, and I'm sad to see him go, but I'm also happy for all the people in the county that are getting him. We're getting the whole county's getting a good man. Other than that, that's it.
I also would like to thank the folks that took care of the Toy Run, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. Irvin, I'm going to miss you also. We were planning board buddies. We were on the council together. You've been around the town longer than I have. And although you're going to be in Manteo, it's just not going to be the same. But we'll work it out. You can come back and visit us anytime you want to. We have always welcomed any of the Dare County commissioners when they want to wander into a meeting. So feel free to get lost on Monday nights, the first Monday of every month, and stop in and see us. And Teresa, thank you for letting us take up so much of his time, and I really appreciate it. And as far as our new council member, I have never agonized over any issue in the time I've been on council or the time I have been on the planning board. And it's been very difficult, and it's been very resource consuming. But Tina, welcome aboard. And David, I wish you well, and if you still have an interest in Kitty Hawk, come on out, look around, see what's going on. We let anybody in the town, and even people in other towns, come into our public meetings. Charlene, you're welcome too. And Nick, if you decide that you want to see what's going on any time other than the day before election, you can come on down too. But anyway, the town staff, I can never say enough about all of them. They really are the ones that keep this little town together. Thank you. And everybody have a wonderful holiday, because we won't be meeting again until next year.
Well said, both of you. Irvin, I'm going to miss you sitting up here, buddy. Irvin and I would sometimes pass notes to each other during conversation, but I am going to miss that. Thank you for what you have done for Kitty Hawk. Tina, congratulations. David, Charlena, thank you both again. This is a great place to reside, live, and work, and visit, and whatever your need is in Kitty Hawk. I'm proud to be sitting up here. On another note, I brought up at the last meeting about the possibility of looking, and the mayor told everybody to think about it until this meeting, on election night, when the meeting falls before election night. Didn't know if you'd had any decision, maybe starting the meeting at 5 p.m. It's not something we have to decide tonight, but if you hadn't figured it out, I have a long memory. I don't forget things, so I'm going to keep bringing it up until we make a decision. I just think it's the proper thing to do, and when it comes to that point, I'd like to make a motion if council sees fit.
Well, I didn't forget it either, so I got it
Thank you.
as a note.
Thank you.
You just preempted me. I don't have a problem starting at 5. I do have a problem starting at 4. That's too early for the working man to be able to possibly get here. That's just too early. 5 o'clock is all right. I don't have a problem with that. They're only meeting once a year
Yeah.
to do the vote, so, you know, if they're a little bit late, they're a little bit late. That's the job that they accepted. But 5 o'clock is all right with me. How do you, rest of you?
It's fine with me, whatever everybody else.
So I think rather than a motion tonight, you need to bring back a new schedule for us to properly do.
Okay.
And we'll adopt that schedule. That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
So we're all in agreement. She'll bring, the clerk will bring us a proper schedule and we'll do it the proper way.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right? Okay, so that was the thing that I had. And that's the only thing I had, other than now we move to the amended agenda with 11A. And I'm going to motion that there were 2 bids for the West Tateway culvert installation. And what we're doing there, well, it's West Tateway Road, and it's also some driveways on the Albemarle Eye Center. And what we're trying to do is, when we have flooding over there, we have a way to pump to the ocean when we're allowed, given permission to do that. But these areas are blocked from the site that we have our sump from which to pump. So we're trying to open that up and give us a way to better deal with floodwater over in Rabbit Hollow area. So we have 2 bids. H&H was the low bid for $3,081.87. I recommend by motion that we accept H&H's low bid.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? There are none. Having said that, motion to adjourn. Does it have a second?
Second.
Mayor, got a last public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to get out of here, didn't I? Public comment. Anybody want to speak? All right, let the record show no one came forward. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, now, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're done, folks.